We've got almost 200 hours with the Flashforge Creator 5 Pro, and while that's not a ton of time, we wanted to share our first impressions from setup to first print and what it's been like so far. We're coming back from a little break, having some summer fun in the pool, watching fireworks, taking the boat out, and visiting the Mariana Caverns, giving Sean some time to play with his new camera, the Insta360 Luna Ultra. First off, we bought the Creator 5 Pro with our own money, so these are our true and unbiased opinions. We're not new to multi-head printers because we have two Snapmaker U1s, and we love these printers for what they bring to the table. Unfortunately, we lost the drive that had a special video for you, and the unboxing was also on it. Sean was just sick to lose all of this footage. Let's get started.
Multi-head printers save a lot of money in filament cost. Where other multicolor printers expel a ton of purge waste from thousands of color changes, multi-head printers alleviate most purge because they're dedicated to a single color per print head. Well, in most circumstances. Yes, you can pause and change colors, increasing the complexity of your prints, but most of us just enjoy not having to babysit multicolor prints. Other ways to get multicolor prints with a single color printer is finding models that are broken up by color. You just print all the parts that share the same color on one plate until you have everything you need to build and glue up your model. We do this a lot here, and I've made a dedicated video that I'll link up here if you're interested.
It was only a matter of time before other competitors began releasing their affordable contributions to the community. After having the Snapmaker U1s, we couldn't wait to get the Flashforge Creator 5 Pro. It's crazy to think we have choices of multicolor, multi-head printers under $1,000 today, and there are more of these style printers on the horizon. We're currently watching and invested in yet another Kickstarter multi-head printer, so make sure to stick with us to see how that pans out. We'll try to keep you all informed as they're released, but today, the star of the show is obviously the new Flashforge Creator 5 Pro.
You might be asking why we chose the Pro version over the open frame Creator 5. Simply put, we prefer enclosed Core XY to control drafts, temperature changes, and other potential anomalies. I love that word. I got that from the U1. I'm trying not to mention the U1 too much, but it even has a door. We like doors. Even though the top is open, we just stick to basic common filament types for our market fares. We're waiting on lids and already have the hardened steel nozzles, but we like having the ability for more abrasive materials. Nothing wrong with future-proofing.
This is where the Creator 5 Pro shines because it comes with hardened steel nozzles and chamber heating controls that are necessary for heavy-duty materials like carbon fiber filaments. Since the Creator 5 open frame is around $700, it was an easy choice just to spend the extra $150 for this massive upgrade, in our opinion.
Setup was incredibly easy, and it honestly only took about 20 minutes to be up and running. The main print head assembly took a bit of force, which was a bit concerning, but it doesn't seem to be affecting the operation so far. We've heard a lot of other complaints about this issue, and I think everybody's finally found out that you just have to apply extra force. The side spool holders were set aside because I had an idea to use my Creality Space Pi 4 as a filament feeder. Even though we can see the ports on the side for a future moisture mitigation filament device, our idea for drying and feeding turned out to be very beneficial. Now it can dry while printing or as intended, all while avoiding power consumption from the main unit. I made this PTFE filament holder / guide, and I put it on MakerWorld. I also shared it with the community for free, and man, was it well received. Yes, you can use it for the Creator 5 too. It'll be linked below if you're interested. Overall, it has helped accomplish that clean look with great functionality. Especially now they have designed the heads on the side, it makes for a much easier opportunity for creatives to implement their own versions of filament treatment. Another issue we had during installation was with the top cover. Apparently, we can't read or follow directions, and we had one of the sides upside down and the lid was a bit off. When we fixed our mistake, it fit like a glove. Just pay attention to the tabs and the magnet placement. The magnets let the printer know that the lid is installed just as the door does. When the door is open, the printer will give you a notification. Having the plastic door seemed weird at first, but now we're pretty much indifferent to it, and it's very well made. I have no problems with the door.
Once we had it set up and tested, it was time for a bigger test, and this is where we almost got a bit discouraged. We started a 4-color print and went to bed, but we got a notification about 15 minutes in from the app that it had paused. I came in to check on it and everything seemed fine, so I hit resume, and it went well for about 4 more hours until there was another pause. Again, I checked it and resumed without flaw. It happened once more about 2 hours before we woke up, but this time there was a noticeable layer shift in the print after resuming, and it stopped yet again about 20 minutes later, where I finally found the culprit. We were so hyper-focused on isolating hardware issues, we were surprised that the issue was the filament roll. Yep, we had an overlap from a Creality spool, the 3rd one that month, and once we untangled it, the printer hasn't paused again. We've not seen any additional pausing issues, so we just chalked this up to the printer working the kinks out because it's been flawless ever since.
Speaking of hardware, we have 0 issues with the bed size choice since it's the same size as our Bamboo Labs P2S and our X1 Carbon at 256 millimeters cubed. Here I go again with trying not to mention the U1, but its bed size is slightly larger, but honestly, I've never done a full bed print even though it is at 270 millimeter cubed. Okay, I'll stop now. Maybe. Operating this machine is super easy and I don't mind some of their quality of life exclusions to cut cost. When loading the printer, you don't have a filament feeder like so you have to manually feed the filament all the way to the print head. Notice I didn't say extruder. I'll come back to that. But once you get to the print head, there's a button to press and hold down to push your filament all the way into the body. Removing filament is just as easy. You just hit the button, which is a filament cutter, and unwind your filament. This saves time when you're closing everything up for the night. Back to the loading though, once you hang the magnetic print head to its proper position, you can either choose to hit load filament or just start a print and it will purge itself anyways. Pressing the cutter button can feel awkward and maybe even problematic sometimes, so it took some getting used to be able to remove that print head from the magnets to press the button. You just hang it back up and you're off to the races.
As for that extruder that Sean mentioned, it has a single extruder attached to the tool head that grabs the print heads individually, so there are less moving parts to fix in case something goes wrong later. Not having to buy multiple extruders with those finicky gears or wear are limited to one location, and that's great so far. Another thing that surprised us was how quiet the tool head swaps are. After listening to the clicks and snaps for that other printer, there were no audible clicks. Having a printer with fewer mechanical noise is always welcomed.
Now for the purge waste, numerous content creators made it sound like a showstopper that the purge was being dropped on the bottom of the print. I could care less. I think we're just trying to find any and everything to talk about to not sound like a shill, but regardless, it takes just a second to grab and discard the waste. In the early iterations of firmware, they had the purge waste being dumped at the front right-hand corner, but some users were experiencing threads of purge being sucked into the exhaust fan, so they fixed this issue by changing where the purge waste is going to go in the back corner. Easy peasy. We honestly have no problem with this because the fewer bells and whistles that we have while being able to accomplish clean, powerful prints, the better. It's like having that vehicle that sends check engine light notifications for things you don't even use or need. It's just less to fix or get wrong.
The Flashforge slicer called Flashforge Studio software is again Orca-based. I know you're surprised, and I'm waiting for their new nickname like Snorka that they made for the U1.
Forca? Florca? Forca?
You're so stupid. Just stop. Anyways, as you can tell, there aren't many things we consider problematic with this machine so far, but there are a couple items we wish were better. For example, the internal light. Since we film a lot here in the studio, the Creator 5 flickers when others don't. It's easy to fix in camera or in post, but still slightly annoying. And the other thing is the camera. Yes, it's there to monitor, but sometimes you just want that high quality time lapse. If companies can just implement low quality monitoring, but allowing activation of higher resolution for time lapse, that would be great.
The existing carbon filter system doesn't seem well thought out because there's another exhaust fan that just pushed internal air straight out of the side. Seems kind of counterproductive, so as we use the printer and provide a long-term review, we'll have a better grasp on what they were thinking when they designed this configuration. I'll let you know.
Overall, we have another tool that will remain in the studio.
I'm offended.
You should be.
We're seeing more and more folks with printers, and many are trying to figure ways to implement them into their workflow or their lifestyles. Our last market fair had 6 different 3D booths, and it's getting harder and harder to create unique ways to have that residual income. I've started deep diving into STL and prototype creation to make useful models, but with the constant rise of AI, many of you will be able to provide the same service as more popular model repositories that exist today do. It's an exciting time to be in this field and watch it quickly grow, but just as anything else, you'll have to try to stand out to reach your personal goals. Regardless of what happens, we'll be sticking around because we absolutely love the process and capabilities of what we can do when we're making things for our house, or market fairs, or anything else. I honestly think that it's going to be like having a microwave. Everyone in the household is going to have one, and you're going to be able to just walk up and hit a particular button, or even speak to it and say, make me a 1/4 inch thread, 2-inch Phillip head screw. Boom. Give it a couple seconds and there you have it.
We invite you to subscribe and hang with us as we provide comparisons against the Snapmaker U1 and other popular brands. Everything will be linked below, and if you have any questions, please just ask and we'll get right back to you. If anything, please hit the like button on your way out, and we hope you have a great day. Bye.